Yo, Ryan O, behavior analyst and creator. All things behavior analysis is what you'll find on this channel. We nerd out on psychology here, and today, extrapolating even more on a previous video called The Functions of Behavior. In it, we leaned upon Cooper, Heron, and Heward's 2020 definition that describes a function-based definition as one that designates responses as members of the targeted response class solely in terms of their common effect on the environment. Now, so far, we're talking about behavior that is influenced by the environment, specifically through changes that occur after our behavior, consequences. So for an example, let's look at ways in which your behavior may be maintained through automatic or sensory functions. The idea, and I'll explain in a bit how I think this is just kind of weird and confusing argument in the first place, but the idea is that there are stimuli that are experienced through your different senses, and further, that they are experienced as a result of your own behavior. That is, there is no one else that is involved. So for example, if you're someone like me, you may occasionally shake your leg during the workday, all right? The effects of that produced by your behavior. Or maybe you twirl your hair, play with your hair. The effects of that, feeling of those proprioceptively, could maintain your behavior, right? Or you bite or maybe pick your nails, these sort of things. Any response that your behavior directly produces the effect on the environment for would fall under this category of sensory or automatically maintained behavior. Can you think of any other things that you may do day to day yourself that are maintained by sensory stimulation? Things as simple as popping a zit or taking a shower may be sensory maintained for some people if the sole reason that they engage in it is for the feeling involved. That is, they are not affected by the social contingencies. But there is a common issue with this approach, which is that behavior is then lumped into some category, a large category of things like sensory or automatically maintained behavior. Let's check out an example to illustrate. If a behavior analyst walks into a new case and is given a behavior plan that says Jack's inappropriate behavior is maintained by sensory stimulation, what does that actually tell me? Anything? I'd argue nothing much at all, and for two reasons. First, is that there is an infinite number of situations in which behavior can produce stimuli as a result of engaging in the behavior. Saying something as broadly as sensory maintained doesn't provide you with much of anything actionable, perhaps out of some, maybe ruling out some other common functions that people talk about. But that brings me to my second point. Technically, a stimulus is an energy change that affects an organism through its receptor cells, all right? Think about that as 5 senses. As such, any stimulus that we experience, regardless of if it's attention, escape, tangible, or sensory automatic, if we stick with those common 4, is a sensory stimulus. It's redundant, non-technical, and just confusing logically. So what's the solution? Well, first, quick break. This video is brought to you by patrons, people like you that support my efforts financially. And look here, for 3 years now, I've spent time, lost money on this channel, creating these videos because I think they're important, the field's important, and they're important people doing important things that need to be heard by people like you, all right? So if it's something you're interested in, down below, you can support me on Patreon. It's a values-based model. There's a link down below. And I also have a lot of different continuing education classes as well at thebehavioracademy.com that help fuel this channel. So let's jump back into the video real quick. What is the solution? Well, first, you can just stick to a clear explanation of the function through our definition. So something like Jack's behavior is maintained by the feeling that's produced by engaging in the behavior. But if you were forced to, and I really don't get why we should be less precise, but if you have to, you can say it in a way that at least conveys some of this, such as Johnny's behavior is maintained by sensory or automatic reinforcement in the form of blank. Insert there. And you see, it's because the science of behavior requires precise terminology so we can categorize and understand the larger functional relations or patterns of human behavior. And if you want more on this, or even why I think this line of thinking in large functional categories is confusing altogether, you can check out more at this playlist over here. I also have free resources down below. I hope that you learned something. Like, share, subscribe. It actually makes a difference. Consider supporting, and I'll see you in the next one. That's your Daily BCBA.